He confessed over spaghetti. The pasta cooled. The candles burned down. By morning, a siren was nothing compared to the noise that lived under my skin. If someone can tell you they killed and keep living like it's a nickname, what else hides in the quiet of a home? Stay. This one peels slow.
In the midst of our Valentine's Day dinner, he admitted to killing a man. I am from a peaceful suburb outside of Raleigh, North Carolina, and my name is Riley Harper. My boyfriend Tom told me he had killed a guy in college while he was halfway through his plate of pasta on Valentine's Day in 2017. In that exact manner. No caution. We were seated at my apartment's small table. With 2 candles burning between us, he had prepared spaghetti with meat sauce and garlic bread on the side. The place had a cozy, warm scent. A playlist of old love songs was playing softly in the background. I recall thinking how adorable it was that he had taken the time and effort. I swirled the noodles and took another bite while I waited for him to continue discussing his day as usual. Rather, he slowly put down his fork. He said, "I have something to tell you." He spoke in a flat tone. It's not so much nervous as empty. I chuckled a little. "All right, what?" He didn't return the smile. He began discussing a night from his junior year, a gathering, excessive alcohol consumption. He was verbally abused by a man he hardly knew. Words became heated. They stepped outdoors. Just one blow, just one. The man fell violently and cracked his head on the curb's edge. Tom said he knelt, checked for a pulse, didn't feel anything. Terrified, dragged the body a little farther off the path near the roadside, and drove away. He described it as though it were a fender bender. Then he grabbed his phone, flipped the screen in my direction, and scrolled a little. An old news story. Local newspaper. Cold case. Young male found dead beside a rural road. Severe head trauma, no suspects, no vehicle damage reported. The face was blurred for privacy in the grainy photo, but the height, build, and color of the hair all matched Tom's description. "That's him," he whispered. The fork slipped from my grasp and struck the plate, loud in the quiet. Suddenly the sauce had an odd, thick flavor. What was already in my mouth was too much for me to swallow. He continued, claimed to have begun therapy a few months prior. The therapist warned him that keeping the secret was killing him. The only way to heal was to be honest. He didn't ask me to do anything. Before we became more serious, he simply wanted me to know who he really was. I believe I gave a nod. Really, I can't recall. The remainder of the meal went by quickly. I shoved food around. He consumed everything on his plate. Later, I told him I felt sick, went to lie on the couch. He gave me a forehead kiss, bid me good night, and went to bed. I was not asleep. I jumped at every little sound. The refrigerators clicking, the radiator clanking. When the cat ran across the floorboards while pursuing nothing, they creaked. I could not stop seeing him leave the bedroom holding something. About 3 a.m, I got up and went to get some water in the kitchen. There was still a strong garlic odor in the air. He nearly burnt the sauce after cooking it for a long time. That lingering, sharp smell. I left the boiling water for tea on the stove. The kettle let out a scream. I yanked it off fast, hands shaking. Staring at the candles that had burnt down to stubs, I sat at the table in the dark. After that night, I stayed for months. I am aware that sounds foolish. However, I was afraid to depart abruptly. I was afraid he would figure out why. I was afraid of what he might do to silence me. I behaved normally, went to work, returned home, grinned. However, I got sick every time I smelt garlic. I was at my breaking point one night. On the internet, I discovered a lawyer who handled anonymous tips for previous cases, sent a message with the details Tom gave me, the exact date, the article link, not a name, no phone number. I assumed that would be the end of it. A few weeks later, the police showed up at his job. They said it was new evidence. He was arrested. From jail, he once gave me a call. I allowed it to ring. The following week, I moved out. Nearly 9 years have passed since then. He remains inside. However, I occasionally wake up in the middle of the night to the smell of burnt garlic, powerful, as if the sauce is still simmering on the stove, and that Valentine's Day dinner comes to mind. Regarding the pasta's meat, what if he took something with him? He abandoned the body by the side of the road. What if it was more than just ground beef? I'll never be certain, but I can't get the thought out of my head.
Opened a folder called Work Backups, Do Not Delete, and found thousands of images that destroyed everything. This happened 2 weeks ago. Valentine's Day was coming, and I wanted to surprise Lisa with a slideshow of us. She was at work. Her password was our anniversary. I opened her photo library. Beach trip, Christmas with her parents, normal couple stuff. I needed more pictures, so I dug through folders. That's when I saw it. A folder labeled Work Backups, Do Not Delete. It had dozens of subfolders. I opened the first and my hands shook before my brain registered what I saw. There were thousands of images. The scroll bar was a sliver. I kept scrolling and it still went on. I won't describe the images. They were children. My stomach flipped and I gagged. I slammed it shut so hard I thought I cracked it. For a minute I sat on the bed staring at the wall. The ceiling fan clicked. Our cat purred. Everything felt normal, except nothing would ever be normal again. I opened the laptop again, because I had to be sure. I clicked another folder, then another. Each one was worse. Some file names dated back 4 years, before we met. My fingers trembled as I googled Report Illegal Images and called the cyber tip line. The woman on the phone was calm. She asked where I was, whether Lisa was home, and if I felt safe. I said Lisa was at work for 2 more hours. She told me not to touch the laptop and that someone would come. I sat in the kitchen, the fridge humming, cars passing, replaying Lisa's kiss. Detectives arrived 53 minutes later. They were polite, asked if I was all right, then went upstairs with gloves and bagged it. They asked routine questions. How long we'd been together. Did she travel? Did she have access to children? I felt like I was going to be sick. They told me not to contact Lisa and left. I heard her keys at the door. She called, "Babe?" like always. I didn't answer. She walked in and saw me sitting in the dark. "You okay?" she asked. I just stared. Her face went blank, like a mask sliding into place. "What happened?" she said, not a question. "The police were here," I said. She didn't gasp or cry. She said, "I was hacked. Someone must have put those files there. I didn't even know." Her voice was unnervingly steady. I started crying, not because I believed her, but because part of me still wanted to. An hour later, the detectives returned and arrested her in our living room. She didn't resist. She let them cuff her. She looked at me once. Her eyes were empty. Forensics dismantled it over the next week. Metadata, timestamps, organized downloads, search histories stretching back years. It wasn't a hack. It was deliberate. It was her. Our wedding was set for June. The venue was booked. Invitations printed. Everything collapsed. 3 days later, I sat across from her in an interrogation room. The detective said I didn't have to be there, but I needed to see her face. She cried and said she was sick, that she needed help. She never admitted it. I keep replaying small moments, coffee in the mornings, her laugh, our road trip photos. Which version of her was real? I still don't know. The trial starts in 2 months. I won't go. I can't sit in a room of strangers judging the woman who lied to me. But I still have our photos on my phone, the normal ones. Late at night I scroll through them, looking for a clue in her eyes, trying to spot what she kept hidden. I never do. There are nights I whisper to myself the questions I cannot answer. Some nights the house feels wrong, as if the air carries a shadow. The slideshow I planned never happened. The loop in my head plays. Ordinary moments stitched into something I can't trust. The idea that someone you love could be 2 people at once won't leave me.
State troopers knocked on our cabin door on Valentine's morning and read my name and social security like it was a script. Valentine's morning was meant to be gentle. No alarms blaring, no headlines, just those silly little routines that somehow make you feel safe together. February 2021, Alex and I grabbed a cheap cabin out in the woods. Nothing fancy. Some lousy wine, a terrible movie, our cat snoozing nearby, and the heater making this soft, uneven clicking, almost like it was out of breath. Snow pressed down on the pine trees outside. Every now and then, rain would drum on the roof. We let ourselves sleep late, made eggs in whatever pans we could find, talked about maybe moving in together. Everything felt easy. Nothing was off. Then someone knocked. 2 men in plain clothes stood outside. One held papers and asked if I was me. He read my full name and social security number aloud. I laughed. Mistake, right? They said there were charges, credit cards, loans, over $50,000, all in my name. I said I didn't even own a credit card. They asked for ID. I gave it in pajamas. Alex stood back, too quiet. They asked to speak with him alone. The door closed. A minute later, it opened. Alex sat on the couch with the troopers. He looked smaller. His voice was thin. He said he'd used my documents, my license, my number to open accounts. Gambling, he said. Online bets he hoped to win back. He said he wanted one last good weekend before telling me. That sentence presses on my chest. He said sorry, repeated it like a spell. Then the handcuffs closed. He didn't resist. They led him into the snow. Our cat jumped into my lap as if nothing were wrong. That hurt more than anything. The drive home was a blur. I focused on small details to keep my mind busy. The kettle's hiss, the scrape of a spoon. Fixing my credit took months. Calls, forms, hold music that looped forever. I cried in my car so coworkers wouldn't see. Before the cabin, there had been hints, late-night fish tank trips, receipts slid under mattresses. I found one once and let it go to avoid a fight. That's how it starts. After he left the house, felt wrong. An abandoned spoon, a shirt on a chair, the cat at the door. Notices arrived, warnings, offers to help for a fee. One envelope broke me. Inside was a photocopy of my old license attached to a sales slip from a different account. I stood on the sidewalk reading it while cars went by. The sky felt too big. The trial happened without me. He admitted everything and got time. Sorry didn't help. Then a week later, a collector called and said the new account used the cabin address. My stomach dropped. There were more traces than I thought. Maybe he hadn't acted alone. I started to look. I followed a delivery receipt to a storage unit an hour away. The manager named someone I recognized from a photo on Alex's phone. Elena, tagged E. I remembered a beach picture. My chest went cold. With police, I opened the unit. Inside, among boxes, were stacks of applications and photocopies of my license. Different handwriting, different emails. It wasn't just one weekend, it was a system. When we tracked Elena down, she didn't look like an accomplice in a movie, just tired with coffee stains on her shirt and a son who kept asking for cereal. She denied everything until a detective produced messages from her phone. Arrangements, pickup points, delivery addresses. Her voice changed when she mentioned Alex. She said he came to her desperate, offering anything to fix the debts, promising to pay her back when he won. That claim shattered and softened me at the same time. At home, while sorting through the boxes the police hadn't taken, I found a slim envelope addressed to me in Alex's handwriting. Inside was a receipt for a payment, partial and unsigned, and a short note. I tried to fix it. I'm sorry. I thought I could win us back. The handwriting was the same as the signature on the lease. The same hand that once doodled hearts on my takeout receipts. That small scrap was both balm and blade. It proved he hadn't planned identity theft for cruelty's sake, but it also proved he had used me as a tool. It didn't excuse him. It explained nothing. That twist landed harder than the handcuffs. The prosecutor said conspirators used trusted identities. The explanation felt like someone describing how a house burned down. Now I lock documents and passwords. Trust doesn't break loudly. It shatters into small, sharp pieces. Sometimes rain makes me think of the knock. The cat wakes me and I still flinch when someone sees my name. I carry that noise with me every day, and it ends with handcuffs clicking in your head forever.